What does the country see in the mirror? Staring back right now is a population where 8 million of us are not white. That's 14% of the population. But by 2050, that might have doubled. So says the think tank Policy Exchange. And where populations shift, votes can shift too. So smart politicians and policymakers would do well to pay attention. But have they really cottoned on? Here's Katie Razzle.
Have you noticed something recently? Whether it's the Prime Minister visiting a part of the Punjab from where hundreds of thousands of British voters can trace their roots, or the Chancellor's reforms to flight taxes.
It creates a great sense of injustice amongst our Caribbean and South Asian communities here in Britain.
Or just last week, the Home Secretary's announcement that police forces must cut back their use of stop and search.
As I have told the House before, I have long been concerned about the use of stop and search.
The Conservatives are making direct appeals to voters from ethnic minority backgrounds. A report out today helps explain why, how the face of Britain is changing. Policy Exchange says by 2050 up to a third of the UK will be non-white. In Croydon today, the black and minority ethnic communities make up nearly half the population. The Conservatives won Central Croydon from Labour in 2010. With a year and a day to go until the next election, it's a seat where black and Asian voters could decide the outcome next time round. Any politician standing in a place like Croydon probably already knows the importance of appealing to voters from ethnic minorities. But how do you do it? Anything that smells of cynical electioneering will leave people feeling used and put them off voting for you. Then again, does it even make sense to talk about the BME vote as one bloc when there's so much diversity within it?
I think absolutely not treating them as a bloc is the right way forward. Pick housing, for example. The Indian community overwhelmingly own their own homes. You contrast that to the black African community where home ownership levels are actually very low. Therefore, policies around stamp duty or help to buy or mansion taxes and interest rates will be of particular concern to the Indian community and therefore a way for politicians to engage with them.
But are the political classes ready for a doubling of the non-white population by 2050? This campaigner wants Croydon's minorities more engaged in politics, and he knows what would help.
When people look at the political parties and they don't actually see themselves within those political parties, they don't feel part of the political democratic process. They don't feel that their views are actually going to be represented at those tables.
Just look at all those white faces. It's hardly surprising that black and minority ethnic voters can feel alienated from politics. 27 MPs, that's a mere 4.2% of the Commons, come from ethnic minority backgrounds. If Parliament reflected the population accurately, there'd be around 117. The BME electorate tends to vote Labour. At the last general election, 68% did. Just 16% voted Conservative and 14% Lib Dem. How worried are people within the Conservative Party?
Long term, it is an existential threat to the Conservative Party. We can see the way the demography of the country is changing, so there's a sort of self-interest argument there, but there's also one of principle about making sure that we're a party, as I said, that every weekend that I go out canvassing, I meet people whose values are conservative, but who wouldn't consider voting for the Conservative Party because they don't think it's for them. And that fundamentally is the perception that we need to change.
Thank you so much.
The Mayor of London has cottoned on faster than many, reaching out to the black-led church community, for example. And a couple of weeks before the mayoral elections was special guest in front of 40,000 black Christians.
I think here in the UK, the black church could be as significant as it is in the United States and getting Barack Obama elected for a second term. It's huge there, and it's beginning to become politically huge here. What the pastors are now saying, yes, it's good to pray, but it's equally good to vote.
Operation Black Vote says in 168 marginal seats like Croydon Central, the ethnic vote is bigger than the sitting MP's majority. Political expediency, if nothing else, demands that politicians of all hues really start listening to their views.